Hello and welcome to the DrivingMaul show. Hi, I'm Paul. I'll be your host this evening. And with lots of chat about Super Rugby of the games over the weekend. Also some kind of coaching and other stuff news out of the Northern Hemisphere as well. And joining me to go through all of that is Mr. Stephen Harris. How are you doing, sir?
Good evening, Paul. And once again, always a privilege and a pleasure to be on the show. I hope you had a great Anzac weekend.
Yes, absolutely. That's a bit of a quite well. Trying to avoid the rain as much as possible because it's a bit. It's all been a bit wet down here, down in the sort of Waihi kind of Coromandel kind of area. So yes, lots of rain to try and avoid. But apart from that, it has all been good. And yes, some sad news from the weekend. And I can see you wearing your White Matter club jersey for a reason there. And you want to quickly just take us through what unfortunately happened last week.
Yeah, very sad times at the Waitemata Rugby Club up here in Auckland. Saturday morning saw the passing of their club president, Grant Kopua, passing away at a pretty young age. Lost his battle with cancer, and it had been ongoing since I believe back in 2013. Sort of came and went into remission, but unfortunately came back very aggressively in the last few months. So Grant unfortunately lost his battle with cancer. So all our thoughts and prayers go out to his whānau and friends who are not just involved with the club, but obviously family as well. So it was a bit of a somber day down the club, but full credit to the senior team that put on a very good performance, beating the Eden rugby team this afternoon. On Saturday afternoon, I think quite convincing. Might have been about 36-10 or something like that. I think the final score was. But good to get one over aim on Hallisey, I got to say. As well, we have another tipping show that we do on a Saturday morning, and he did tell me that the sun would be shining out at Gribblehurst Park near Eden Park on Sandringham Road, but it wasn't to be. It sort of, I suppose it didn't shine, but listen, I think if Grant was looking down, he'd be pretty pleased at the way that the senior team played on Saturday afternoon, and also the reserves winning their game against Eden, and the under 21s taking out a good victory against Suburbs. So a pretty good day all around for the Waitemata club. But like I say, in mourning at the moment, and thoughts again to family and friends.
Yeah, it's real shame. It's real sad. That's why they call it remission. And well, you're never actually, you're never sort of fully recovered or from cancer. Yeah, it's a horrible one. But thoughts with his family and friends. We should also touch on there because obviously you are radios, Stephen Harris. So why don't you give people know where they can listen to your Saturday morning prediction show?
Usually on Planet FM, which is on 104.6 FM. Amon Hallisey has a sports show that starts around about 9:40, goes through to about 11:15. But usually on the first part of the show, he has Super Rugby. On most occasions, he has former All Black Alan Wetton on the show. They talk a little bit about Super Rugby, and of course, I come on and talk a bit of women's rugby, and also a bit of local club rugby in the Blues region, and also the counties Manukau region as well. And as we know, all those competitions pretty much up and running. The Auckland competition into their second week. Northern are in round five. So they're basically racing away. I don't know how the local club comp is looking down your way, Paul, or whether it's started or not. But great to see.
No, it has started. It's we're getting good crowds here in Waihi. Unfortunately, I now work generally on a Saturday because I do gold mine tours. So I'm working in the tourism industry, means I tend to work weekends. So unfortunately, I've not been able to get down to the club much recently. So I can't tell you how they're going. It's a shame. But that's the way. You've got to put food on the table somehow. Apparently. So that's unfortunately I'm not getting down to club rugby as much as I used to. Talking of Super Rugby though, and looking at Anton Leonard-Brown's Instagram, we can see there the X-ray that boy oh boy, yes, he definitely had a break of that shoulder, and he's already got a couple of pins in before they've even fixed it. So I guess that's from a previous operation. So yes, looks like Anton Leonard-Brown is going to be out for a while now with his shoulder there. I guess that's probably going to be a rest of the season one. at a guess, but that's just me guessing. That's all we've got so far is the his post, which shows him first off holding his shoulder, I guess from the game at the weekend, and then obviously then the X-ray as well. So look, wishing him a speedy recovery on that one, and let's hope he gets heals properly before, and doesn't rush back into to rugby too quickly.
Yeah. I was about to say a little bit of a tough one for Anton Lienert-Brown. Also talked that he's might be heading off on a sabbatical next year as well. Paul, I believe there's a few reports starting to surface, but on saying that, it opens up an opportunity not just in the Chiefs but the All Blacks as well for anybody pushing for that midfield position.
Yeah, Kobe in Japan is where he's heading off to. So with obviously Rieko Ioane recently having announced he's off over to Leinster, and Mark Talia also heading up but he's heading up to Japan permanently rather than as a sabbatical for those. So I think both of the Lienert-Brown and Rieko will both go and miss Super Rugby, but be available for the All Blacks. So I think they'll be back in time for that one there. But but it looks like Leicester Fainga'anuku is going to be returning from France, which will be a good one. Obviously, he can play both 13 and also on the wing. So it'll be interesting to see him coming back as well on that one. Just a couple of coaching things from the Northern Hemisphere then. Welsh Rugby have announced their director of rugby, which is a guy called Dave Redden, who is now their new director of rugby. Look, it's replacing Simon Walker, who left under a cloud, let's be honest. This is a very important position for them to appoint, because he's the guy that's going to decide who is the next senior men's coach for Wales. His history, look, he's worked in he worked with Sir Clive Woodward as the fitness coach for at England. Also went on the Lions tour. Has worked in football and also in for the GB Olympic team as well. So, look, great experience in different sports. This one looks like it's going to be a different level though, and a step up. And the way that he'll be interested, where we're hiring, is going to be a big thing for him, as well as not just putting kind of structures in place as well. So yeah, interesting one there. Someone I've never heard of, and we'll just have to wait and see. Obviously, he's not had a similar role in rugby. But Steve Tandy is apparently the most likely. The name that's been thrown around as being the next Wales head coach. Obviously, works on the defence side of things and has been with Scotland on the defence, Scotland defence for a while now, since 2019, and has been credited with some of their improved performances. Steve Tandy to come in as next Welsh head coach. Any thoughts on that one, Steve?
Not really. I don't know a lot about him, but you listen, by the sound of things, they're just putting some groundwork in. Probably somebody that they know a lot more than we do over here. So listen, good luck to him. All I know, he's got one heck of a big job.
Absolutely, he has. Look, I mean, and obviously he knows Welsh rugby. Look, he's been at Bridgend, Ospreys. Also was down at the Waratahs from 2018, 2019, before going up to Scotland. So yeah, good luck to him. If he gets the role, that's still to be announced, but he is the favourite one for that. Talking of potential coaches, Les Kiss of the Reds seems to be the front runner at the moment to replace the next Wallabies head coach. So we'll see how that one goes. Look, he's clearly doing a good job with the Reds, and has done a good job with the Reds these last couple of years. So I don't see why not. Let's be honest. I don't think the Wallabies got a big checkbook to go out and hire somebody, and also I think progression from inside isn't a bad move, to be honest. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes at the next level. But I'm not sure who else is really around that the Wallabies would go for. But would you be happy with Levskis, do you think, as a Wallabies fan?
Yeah, I think so. Probably a little bit of a surprise to me. You would have probably thought Stephen Larkham may have had the inside running. He'd been relatively consistent with the Brumbies without winning any super titles, but they always seem to be the best team out of Australia consistently. So, yeah, it probably is a little bit of a surprise for me, Paul.
So yeah, so we'll see how that one progresses. I say it's just rumours at the moment, but he's a name that has been mentioned the most that I've seen flying around. Finally, for the Lions, then we've got Scotland forwards coach John Dazelle, along with England's senior coach Richard Wigglesworth, are going on the Lions, along with Simon Easterby, Andrew Goodman, John Fogarty, and a whole bunch of other people as well. But no Welsh representation at the top of the senior coaching team at the moment. So it looks like they're restricted to, I think, like a fitness coach or something like that. So very much a kind of island dominated, with Easterby, obviously Andy Farrell, Andrew Goodman, all in there, just with a bit of help from Scotland and England, which I think is pretty much what we should expect for this.
Yeah, I think so. But once again, a little bit of a surprise. Somebody like Sean Edwards was overlooked. Obviously not a Welshman, but has been a big part of Welsh rugby and has been a really big part in recent times of the success with the French, especially in and around their defence. So for me, I'm a little surprised he wasn't looked at. Whether he was asked or not, I'm not too sure.
And whether France would actually release him from his contract. Remember, France are coming to New Zealand on tour at the same time. So I think he's renewed there, and there was talk about him potentially being the next Welsh head coach. But I think far too many bridges got burnt when he didn't get the role last time. About 6 years ago now, I guess it is. Look, I think he's happy, or he's maybe I think he'd like to have a head coaching role, but it's about finding the right one. And I think what France at the moment are really appreciating what he's doing, and writing a big enough check to keep him there as well with that one. So that's kind of the news from around the traps as far as I've seen it. So let's unless there's any kind of news you've spotted that I've missed.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised with some comments that surfaced last week from Stephen Donald in and around the URC competition. I know some of these comments can be seen as clickbait at times, but I just think it's probably not what the game really needs. We know these competitions are really quite different, and it's fair to say the really good teams that are in the URC, the likes of your Leinsters, Edinburghs, the Bulls are a very good side, and obviously there are some teams that are struggling. And if you look at the top 14, there's probably French top 14. There's probably 3 or 4 teams that are very, very good pull, and probably a gap on the others. But listen, I think Super Rugby's been through its own issues in recent times, and it's great that we're actually seeing a competition that's competitive. We're seeing some great rugby, and listen, while I have respect for Stephen Donald as an All Black and part of a World Cup All Black winning team, I just think his comments were out of place, Paul.
Yeah, look, I mean, does Geordie Barrett have to prove himself when he comes back? I think he's got plenty of credit in the bank to say no, he doesn't need to prove himself. So we've had players come back from Japan and come back into the All Black setup, and let's be honest, the Japan setup back a few years ago was definitely not up to the same level of as Super Rugby. So to be disparaging about the URC is a farce.
Oh, it's crazy, because what I've actually seen in Geordie Barrett's game, Paul, is a real improvement in and around sort of organisation, playmaking, just being involved in moves. Stuff that we actually haven't really seen from Geordie Barrett, whether it's been playing for the Hurricanes all the All Blacks, and he looks like he's got a lot of time now. Obviously, a lot of work goes in with the coaches over in Ireland. And listen, I just forget the name of the Leo Cullen, who's the coach of Leinster. It seems like he's given Geordie a little bit of a free license um, to basically express himself, and whether that's been around the systems and moves that they've got in place. Listen, it's great to see. I'm hoping that somebody like Rieko Ioane, who heads up to Leinster, he basically reboots his career as well. We probably talk a little bit about that during the Super Rugby previews, Paul. But listen, I think sometimes a sabbatical is a good thing. Maybe get it for a player to sort of experience something a little bit different under different coaching.
Yeah, and especially someone like Rieko has been basically in the exact same setup his entire career. Pardon me. Whereas Geordie, look, I mean, was down in Canterbury and then came up to the Hurricanes, so clearly would have had influences from the Crusaders and stuff. So I think he's experienced a bit more variety than Rieko. But I think the variety for Rieko will be a good thing at this stage of his career in that one. Moving on then to the actual games, we kicked off on Friday with the the Chiefs hosting the Force over in Mount Maunganui at a cricket ground, which I'm never a big fan of, let's be honest. But unfortunately, they haven't managed to get a decent what's the word I'm looking for? A decent stadium built in Tauranga. Whilst the Chiefs kicked off nicely with a penalty, Balin Kunzel then got himself a try from a stolen line out. Look, the Chiefs being a bit the architects of their own downfall there. Mani Nawaya, though, came through with a lovely after chip over to go and score. Only for Donaldson to really kind of catch the Chiefs napping with the restart to the far corner, and hey presto, the Harry Potter races in and touches the ball down. So it wasn't even I mean, no one else touched the ball, man. That's probably the only try I've ever seen. Actually, no, there's been a couple of tries where a winger has come in and out jumped and managed to catch a ball and then go through. But this was a bit of a surprising one. Samisoni Takiaho on his 100th cap managed to get a try to keep things sort of tight. A Donaldson penalty, but then Boshier tried just before half time meant that the Chiefs eked out a 25-15 lead at that point. Come the second half, though, and boy oh boy, things changed. The Chiefs managed to find holes in the forced attack. They shot up their set piece, and suddenly the floodgates opened with Norris, Ratimer scoring a try. Sure, Harry Potter pulled one back, but at 37-22, the damage had been done. Ratimer then also picked up his second try before we had a couple of bashing tries or bash try over. Or the scrum tries. I mean, because the scrum then basically took control and was dominant for the Chiefs, and they racked up the half century to win 56-22. A dominant win. Another dominant second half from the Chiefs to blow out a game.
Yeah, very much so. Actually, just touching back on that try, though, you're right. That is one of the most bizarre tries I've ever seen, and the Chiefs' defence literally were caught napping. No doubt about it. Listen, we've seen tries where from the kickoff, a lock or a winger has come through, taken a kickoff, and basically caught and surprised everybody. But listen, I think Clayton McMillan, he would be very dark on that try, that everybody was just pretty much half asleep. Nobody, and one of those cases of everybody was looking, are you watching this? Are you watching this? And it was basically it was too late. Listen, I thought the Force in general, I thought they started well, really competitive, and I thought they pretty much showed why they're having a much improved season. I thought their best was Darcy Swain. He managed to disrupt that Chiefs lineup in the first half. And listen, as long as they had a little bit of ball, they were in the game, but I just didn't think they had the same sort of quality as the Chiefs across the paddock. Ben Donaldson was still relatively tidy, but boy, at the end of the day, just too many missed tackles at the end of the day, I don't think they were helped by the yellow card to Tompkinson as well. It seems a bit crazy, Paul, that probably 4 or 5 years ago when Tompkinson was playing in the Highlanders, we were basically talking about his tackling technique. So you've got to say he's a bit of a slow learner, and not a lot's changed in that space.
To be fair to him, it's been a while since we've seen it. But we've seen him being quite so. He doesn't pick them up as frequently. And there's another player I was going to talk about later, actually, about yellow cards. But so yeah, to be fair, he hasn't picked up quite as frequently. But yeah, 27 missed tackles on this one. But I think turnovers was also another one. 19 turnovers by the Force compared to 10 by the Chiefs. Yeah, if you're not going to hold on to your own ball and you're not disrupting that line out anymore. You're not disrupting the platform, then they're going to just run over you, and that's exactly what happened.
And I'll tell you what was a killer for the Force before was that Boshier try, which at the time the official called it a no try, and play went right down the other in the field, and they brought it back half a mile to look at it. Not the only time we saw this over the weekend too, by the way, and boy, that pretty much pushed them out to a 10-point lead at half time, and then those first 7 or 8 minutes in the second half, the Chiefs pretty much killed off the game, didn't they?
Yeah, I know that Bashir one. I'm not sure there was downward pressure personally. So yes, I can see why they gave it, but I would have stuck with the on-field decision. I wouldn't have said clear and obvious personally.
Yeah, I've seen some angles where it looks like it's under his torso, short of the line. So a very interesting one. But the official that evening seemed to think that he actually saw the ball on the line. So I think his message to TMO was, "Can you give me a reason why I can't award this try?" So once you pretty much see that, unless you find something different, Paul, unfortunately the defending team have basically got to wear it.
Yep. So the Chiefs came out with an expected victory. The Force, you say, doing well initially, but then tidying a few things up at halftime, sorted things out. Then we went over to Australia for the Battle of the Colours. Reds hosting the Blues. And boy, this was and the Blues, they lost Bowden Barrett ahead of this, which ruined my fantasy team, seeing him put on the bench as well. So yes, I missed the fact that he'd been dropped or been dropped to the bench, and didn't make my change in time. But Liner started things off with a crash ball try. I mean, and he's not the biggest guy in the world. So what's that's not really kind of what he's being paid for, and shouldn't be getting himself hurt. So, but a crash ball try. Then he was on someone's shoulder, and suddenly it's 14-0 with only 9 minutes down, with him with all of the points. They couldn't keep up that rate by any stretch. And the next thing of note to happen. Oh, actually, the Blues marched down and had about 4 tries held up or disallowed over the line there. Now, and I heard the Aussie commentators being a bit disparaging about the passive tackle technique, but that wrapping and falling does definitely certainly work to a certain extent. Mark Talia then decided to do an old-style tip tackle, which saw him swing a yellow that got upgraded to a red. But the Blues survived that very well. Gerd Eklund got a try, which meant they went into half-time at 14-7. The Reds only managed to score after the red card had been sort of run out of time, but the Blues hadn't had time yet to replace their player, with McDermott getting a try, which pulled it out to 21-7. Another try, though, by Anderson took it out to 28-7. And I think we had a disallowed try in that time for the Blues, and by then, let's be honest, it was too little, too late to come back from. Sure, Sam not going to try just before the 10-minute, with about 12 minutes to go. And Segner also got one late on, but at 35, finished off 35-21. The Reds did the work early on, and the Blues just too direct, and just not looking wide, and they just got held up far too many times. If you keep doing the same, and the thing of madness is do the same thing again and expect a different result. They clearly just kept doing the same thing, and it didn't come up with a different result.
Yeah. Oh, listen, 100%. If a word basically sums up the difference between these two teams, Paul, clinical comes to mind. The Reds nowhere near as many chances as the Blues, but most of those opportunities when they did have the chance to score points, they actually took. And listen, big ups to Tom Liner. Wow. I'd always sort of viewed Tom Liner as a tradesman like player, but boy, he's just showing that he's tough. He's taking the ball to the line. He's running the cutter. Couple of beautiful moves as well, like the try scored by Anderson from a set piece move. Absolutely fantastic. That opened the Blues up. When you initially looked at it, you actually thought maybe a couple of players have taken out, but it was perfectly executed. Beautiful try. As for the Blues, I think once again, Paul, we've spoken about this during the season. It's really interesting. I heard Paul Tito on a Blues forward coach on another radio show yesterday, and he basically said he couldn't put his finger on it. Seriously, Paul? Most people who know this game can see that the Blues game plan, they're all coming in through the front door. The problem is when you play that game plan, everybody knows you're coming there. And listen, credit to the Reds. They made sure to get 2 or 3 people under the player that was driving for the line. I think on a couple of occasions they pulled the player across the line and held them up. So full credit for actually trusting their defence. But you've got to ask the question with their game drivers at the time, where was the inclination to basically find space out wide? You've got the likes of Lamb, Ioane, you've got Talia. Man, you've got some quality. Zan Sullivan, who slotted into fullback. Yes, they had a couple of players not available, but even if they had those players available, Paul, they probably still wouldn't have seen the ball. People wonder why these Blues outside backs are not having a great season. They're not getting any ball.
Yeah.
And in most cases, when they are getting ball, they're getting it right on the advantage line. I think the other thing just to discuss too is the tackle.
Well, back to your coach's thing. Vern Cotter has been quoted on stuff as saying we need to toughen up our game. Not that we need to vary our game or provide some different pictures. No, toughen up the game. It's apparently we need to double down on what we're doing. So yeah,
wow. That probably tells you everything. Listen, they've got a tough battle coming up against a desperate Force side. I believe Kurtley Beale is not too far from returning from injury. Man, that is just so close-minded, and I just think it's possibly a little bit too late for the likes of Rieko Ioane. Rieko Ioane looks like a player that's so out of form. Confidence is gone. You're not going to get any better playing that sort of game plan and not getting the ball in your hand. Ironically, up until the red card, I thought Mark Talia was actually playing reasonably well, and it all turned out to be a very, very good tackle. But once again, I think some of these guys could take a leaf out of Portia Woodman, who we watched during Super Rugby Opiki, basically affect the same sort of tackle on 3 or 4 occasions, lifted the player and kept driving through, and basically pounded them back onto their backside, where Talia just went through with the tackle. And once you lift somebody past the horizontal, listen, it's going to be a card. It's going to be a card of some sort. Yeah.
I've not seen it, but I'm assuming she kept contact and kept the wrap as she hit the ground. Mark Talia, he actually releases the player. He's not holding on to the guy. He doesn't put him down. He spins, then let's go. And you're like, mate, no, you've got to bring the person. You've got to keep control. And he didn't keep control, and that's what lost him.
No, absolutely. And for anybody who's seen if you can get videos, I've actually been trying to find some videos just to basically just show people that tackle can be made safely if you keep holding onto the person, keep basically driving through. Once they lose their balance going backwards, they are either going to go on their backside or they're going to go on the back. The other great thing about it, if you're able to stay on your feet as the tackler, you become a jackler straight away, and you make it harder for the next cleaner that's actually coming in to actually affect clean out. So, boy, once again, another little coaching piece. I'm very concerned for the Blues, and just with their mindset, if they think this sort of rugby is going to get them a title in 2025, I think they're dreaming, Paul.
Well, I think after he got his title last year, I think there are a few people thinking, hey, this Vern Cotter guy could be an All Blacks head coach at some point. I think that's been very quickly rethought, hasn't it?
No, it's a very bloody minded game plan, and I know people will say, gee, the Springboks play with a bloody minded game plan, but they always make sure that they're up for it. They know their strength inside out. I don't think this Blues team, and we've seen a little bit of personnel move here and there, and I've heard people say, oh, they've had injuries, but if you look at the games that they've lost, Paul, I think basically you'd have to basically question what was going on between the top 2 inches when it really mattered.
Well, I think it's coaching. The players are doing what the coach is telling them to do, and they're just and my guess is the difference between this year and last year is belief in the system. That they just, and therefore, as you say, they're not up for it quite as much because, hey, they've seen it's not kind of working, and so the belief is gone. And I think, to me, that's probably part of it. But this is obviously armchair psychology of a team that people have not talked to. But this is just some guesswork. But moving on then to Saturday, and Moana Pacifica, the side having their best season yet against the Drua, who are having a shocker of a season, particularly on the road. For this one, and it was with the Drua, with Moana going in as favourites. Could they kind of cope with that kind of mantle going into this one? And look, it took them a while to get over the line. When they did, though, boy, it was some champagne rugby. Lots of passes going on to spin it round. Then it was back to kind of some of the things that have been working well for them. So Miracle. Getting over for a try, and Tupu, so 2 forward, more orientated tries to give them a 17-0 halftime lead. Miracle Wailangi got a second one just after halftime to make it 22-0, and let's be honest, by that stage, it's game over. The Drua just do not. Yes, they can, in theory, score tries from anywhere, but not in their current form. Unfortunately, sure, they scored a few. They got a few points to come back, but 34-15 shows that this was a comfortable win for for Moana, even if a skillful Artie Surveyor collect, run backwards, chip over, and go and score was disallowed because of a couple of knock-ons. But Julian Sevilla came back and got over and scored another one. So putting him, I should probably have a quick look at all-time try scoring things, because obviously he's near the top there of that one, challenging. I've forgotten who is it. Whether him and TJ, I think are probably still up. TJ might still be up there. Anyway, but yeah, good win for Moana. And that last. The last interception try just killed off any chance for losing bonus point for the Drua.
Yeah, one thing I will say: if Anton Dupont is the best player in the world, Artie Savia must be the second best player in the world, Paul. Just, is there anything that the man can't do? It's very obvious when he's not on the field for Moana. They just, when they haven't got their tailsman on the paddock, who just brings aside so much energy. Wow, not just physically, but obviously also spiritually as well. But I thought, listen, it was great to see a brilliant crowd there at the North Harbour Stadium. looked like a fantastic atmosphere. I must admit, I was watching it down at the Waitemata Rugby Club at the time, and there were basically the aftermatch speeches going on while the Savia try was scored on the big screen, and basically everybody you could hear a murmur around the club going wow, and even the guy with his speech at the time basically knew, gee, it wasn't my speech that got everybody got everybody murmuring. But Adi Savia's non-try, probably one of the greatest non-tries you might ever see, but it was the correct decision at the end of the day. There was a knock on in the tackle, but gee, the audacity to basically drop the ball onto his right foot and bend it back in, just absolutely sensational, Paul. There's probably wingers out there who don't.
Well, knowing where the space is, knowing where he can drop it, realizing that there isn't a guy back there that he's just going to chip it into their hands. So the not only that, he's aware of what the space is about 20 meters ahead of him when he's got 5 people in his face. To be able to he's got the ball, he's got to keep track of the ball in his hand, be aware of the opposition players, his own players. I've got no one to pass to. Where is this? Knowing where the space is, keep all of that in your head.
Well,
great.
Maybe Razor can have a 7-2 bench split and have Artie as an outside back, because that's what it kind of reminded me at times. Listen, for the Drua, same old issues just seem to plague this team. There's a lot of ability, but what I have noticed, when they actually really do something special, Paul, in a lot of cases it's individual brilliance where somebody doesn't have to make a pass. You even look at the even if you look at the try that the hooker scored in Ikaneveri that he scored, that basically came from a busted tackle and a 30-meter run. But once again, they just throw so many unnecessary offloads. They started well, but once Moana actually overcame their pressure and started keeping the scoreboard ticking over, a little bit of a surprise that Jackson Garden-Bishop started ahead of Pellegrini. And this again, not too sure what the deal is there. I know that Jackson Garden-Bishop is part of their leadership team, but it's a little bit of a surprise. They've given themselves a chance with 5 rounds to go, haven't they? You think back to a couple of those early season games, Paul, that for all intents and purposes they should have won, and they'd probably be sitting in 3rd or 4th place on the table.
Yep. Currently they sit on 20 points, where the Western Force in 6th place are on 22 points. So yes, they're definitely in with a shout, absolutely, of making the playoffs with 5 rounds to go. I think it is from that. So yes, that's definitely a closable, as you say, definitely a closable gap,
including a game against the Blues, and that they're not going to be as quiet in the second game. Of course, let's not forget that game will be at home. I tell you what, I'm getting my ticket now, because I know it'll only be $10. It'll only be $10.
That'll be a cracker. The $10. It's a fantastic night, couple of hours entertainment. Look, I mean, Monsters we're put under pressure here. Look, 187 tackles to 114 for the Drua. They had to defend quite a lot, but even though they're defending more, they had seven clean breaks to only 5 from for the Drua. So the Drua had all the play, but just could not, or had all the possession, but just could not, could not do anything with it. But until it was too late on that one. We then head down to the bottom of the South Island, where the Highlanders were hosting the Crusaders in Dunedin. Okay, it's not quite bottom, but you know what I mean. For that one, and look, coming into this one, this was Crusaders sat second in the table. The Highlanders out of the playoff picture, and you've got to say this looked like being a comfortable away win. When you then have Will Jordan scoring a sort of classic of his, where he just gets it, finds a gap, runs around the outside of somebody, and then puts it down after 10 minutes, follows it up with another try 4 minutes later. When he gave it to Springer and then kept him support to finish that off. Cody Taylor doing Cody Taylor thing. Cody Taylor got picked up a yellow for the team, but that didn't stop him, did it? Later on, where the Crusaders were under a warning on their own try line, the Highlanders were attacking, and he still goes to the turnover and executes it perfectly and gets the penalty. So. Someone who, a lot of players at that point, look, I'm on one yellow. If I get another yellow, it's a red. I better kind of not be the one diving in for the ball. I'll just do the other work of just tackling people. But no, he still went for it, and also picked up a try as well, which meant it was 21-0 at half time. Unfortunately for them, they did lose their fly half, and Rihanna came in and was pretty good with the boot. Sure. The Highlanders came back with a try to Lowe, but look, at 5:24, it was all becoming a bit too little, too late. A couple more tries to the Crusaders, and it went out to 10-43. Cody Taylor picking up one after the hooter at the very end there for his second try of the night, and a comfortable win for the Crusaders, who, last year. Was this the Crusaders franchise on the downward slide? No, fairly safe to say that was a bit of a blip. Should they have given Penny the benefit of the doubt because of all the injuries? The answer, quite clearly, I would say at the moment, is yes. Now that he hasn't, now that he's got some cattle, he's doing a good job down there.
Yeah, if you think back to last year, I defended Penny for the very reason the injury toll that they had was basically like a perfect storm, and the harder they tried, the more mistakes that they made, and you could almost I looked at it this way: it was almost like they were trying to chase the table, not the game, chase the table. Because once you start to fall behind, we got to play some expensive rugby. We got to pick up 5 points. More importantly, I think first of all they forgot how to learn to win first, because they were playing some reasonably good rugby at times, but just far too many injuries. Just getting back to Saturday night, feel very much for Taha Kimura, because listen, he'd been making a good fist of making that number 10 jersey his own this year. Of course, starting most of the games with James O'Connor finishing the games. The only real criticism was probably his goal kicking, Paul, probably not quite as accurate, but you could just see the confidence, and even the break that led to his injury, the confidence to have a real crack was just great. And if you look at the way he was tackled, just got that knee in the wrong place. I believe he's got an MCL injury, which pretty much puts him out, not just for Super Rugby, but possibly for the rest of the year, Paul. So very, very, very sad for the young man. On the upside, Rivers Reihana, who had played limited minutes, man, I thought he came on and, bar one mistake, one error, he pretty much played very, very well and just fitted in like a glove. Operated that back line.
I think he's coming back from injury, isn't he, as well?
Yeah, he's also coming back from injury. He was. It was a little bit of a surprise that he was on the bench, but from what I believe, Rob Penny had told local press down there, he'd only played 7 minutes of rugby. And ironically, if we have any injuries, and we have to bring Rivers in, he's played very little rugby. So no, he's slotted in quite well. But once again, another superb performance from the Crusaders pack. They certainly dominated the Highlanders. Didn't help the Highlanders losing Fabian Holland, who's been one of their better players, but pretty much outgunned right across the paddock. Something that surprised me a little bit was, I think, the first try that Will Jordan scored. Boy, you get an appreciation of how quick he is when he guesses Ratamaivuki Nepkins like he wasn't even there, Paul. And we know that Nepkins is a very quick player as well. So it just shows you Will Jordan for fullback is what I say if you're picking an All Black team. I don't think you should be playing this guy on the wing, because I've just seen some gradual improvements in his game, Paul. The taking of the high kicks, taking of attacking high kicks, and we're seeing a little bit more kicking from Jordan as well, which is great to see. But impressive performance all round. And doesn't show Fihaki, just starting to show little glimpses of what he's capable. I thought the opportunity the try that he took in the 69th minute, beat a tackle, and boy, just far too quick for everybody else.
Yeah, he's having a cracking season as well. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, look at carries. 193 for the Highlanders, 105 for the Crusaders. So a lot less runs, whereas 2 clean breaks for the Highlanders, 9 for the Crusaders. Just they're clinical in attack. As you say, the forwards getting the platform and giving it to the backs when they've got some front football and where they can run it with space. Yeah, well played.
And I was going to say, Paul, with that injury to Taha Kemera, how good when you've got a James O'Connor in your squad is moment. Boy, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people in rugby land that are walking around with a lot of egg on the face, not just in and around Rob Penny, but also in and around. I know when that selection of James O'Connor was first muted, people were asking, what are they doing? Why are they getting this basically guy who's bounced around so many clubs? But hey, listen, the proof is in the pudding. They go into a bye week and they just sit back and they just see what the Chiefs can come out with over the next couple of weeks, because they've got 2 very, very tough away trips.
Yep, and they're totally vindicated with the O'Connor one. It did raise a lot of eyebrows at the time, but also showed that actually the number 10 stocks of experienced Kiwis isn't there, because you go overseas and you get paid a lot more at the end of the day. Finally on then to the last game, which was over to Canberra, where I think we're all expecting after Hurricanes not having a great season this year, I think we're all expecting the Brumbies to come away with a win here. But boy, oh boy, we were kind of wrong about that one. Initially, the Brumbies got off to a good start. Alatoa bashed over. Billy Proctor then scored 1 out wide, coming back from injury. And whilst Losea knocked over a penalty that was replied to by Love, Punavai also scored out wide, only for Dramer to bash over for another try. But Naholo pick and go from the second one was pick and go. This one was out wide. And you might notice here there was a difference in style of play. All of the tries for the Brumbies, bar their last one by Andy Muirhead, were all bashed over by the forwards. All of the tries, bar one, which was the Naholo second one, where he picked and goed from a ruck, were scored basically in the tram lines out wide for the Hurricanes. So good luck with your kicking, Rob Love. But yeah, definitely a contrast in styles here around these scores. Were they all clean scores? No, and some of the Canes one were a bit messy. But look, hey, if you drop it and it goes backwards and someone can pick it up and keep playing, who cares? At the end of the day, you can tidy that up. Leading 15-20 at halftime, they'd have loved that, and they went on to win this one 29 to 35. The Brumbies managed to close it to within a score, and they had 7 minutes left. They could have done it, but in the end, actually, the Canes were the ones with the ball, with the pressure at the very end, getting held up over the line. So perhaps slightly more comfortable than the one score line suggests there for the Hurricanes.
Yeah, and the Brumbies fortunate enough that the Hurricanes were held up in the last place, so they're lucky to walk away from their home ground with the bonus point. Boy, a couple of standout performances. Kenny Naholo, when he's on, Paul, jeepers, he's some player, and he was on Saturday night. It was almost like he was leathered in oil. They basically couldn't they couldn't tackle him. I just thought he was absolutely outstanding. I thought Proctor and Higgins in that midfield so creative, aren't they? You know, they basically give their outsides opportunity. Look at Punavai. Punavai, you wouldn't say is one of the top wingers around the country, but he was getting ball in hand, you know, which is what you want to see. Loving the look of Callum Harkin at fullback. Man, hard to believe a year ago, this guy's playing club rugby, Paul, and yet right now it looks like he's played about 30 or 40 games for the Hurricanes. And I would suggest that maybe they've got their starting loose forward trio right with Shields, Karifi, and Lakai. I quite liked how that loose forward trio worked together, and I just like the fact that they had a little bit of a mini bomb squad as well. It's not too bad when you can roll out Xavier Numia and Terrell Lomax off the bench in the second half. I believe they've got a few players coming back from injury that's going to strengthen them as well.
But also, with his carrying, giving some space and tired legs, bring him on can be very destructive coming off the bench as well. So yeah, that balance there, really good.
Oh, absolutely. So full credit to Clark McKenzie and the way he selected his side. With regards to the Brumbies, yeah, well, Stephen Larkham will be really disappointed with this performance. I think what the Hurricanes did, I think they exploited their wide defence. Like we all know that both Muirhead and Atul are very quick players, but boy, there were times they got caught out on those flanks on many occasions. And like I think the Hurricanes left a lot of points out on the field. There was the odd good performance there. I thought the Alalatua played a pretty good game, and I thought Valentini was very good for the home side. But I think, like you originally said, Paul, I don't think the scoreline actually really. I think it more flattered the Brumbies, is what I'm trying to say. I think the Hurricanes probably were a good 10 to 15 points better on the night.
Yeah, and that leaves the table now with the Chiefs and the Crusaders, top of the table, both on 37 points, just divided by points difference. The Brumbies slip back now 29 points, so that's 8 points behind. So this is becoming a bit of a two-horse race this season. The Reds, another 2 points back on 27. A bit of a gap then to the Hurricanes, who climb up into the top six on 22 points. Western Force also on 22 points, only separated by points difference. So that's your top six, and for the finals currently. Only 1 point outside, though, on 21 points are the Waratahs. Now, look, the Waratahs and the Reds, by the way, have both played one less game. So the Waratahs, in theory, are in that top eight, are in that top six. If they get any points, really, if they can win that game in hand. Moana Pacifica only 2 points out of the playoffs on 20 points, so clearly still in it. I think it's becoming a bit of a big arse now for the next two. The Blues and the Highlanders both on 17 points, so that puts them 5 points behind, outside of the playoffs. Now, look, yes, it's only 1 bonus point win, but you're relying on like 5 other teams ahead of you all losing. So, to me, I think the Blues and Highlanders probably can call it a day. I think it's going to take something very, very special for them from those two to make it to the finals. The Drua on 11 points. Well, look, their season has been pretty much over as far as playoffs go for a while now. On minus 100 points difference. The next worst is the Highlanders on minus 161. So more than 40 points more than that. That's nearly a try a game that they're worse, that they've been allowing more than the next worst team, unfortunately, for them. So that's where we're at now with the table. I've not got next round's games up. That's very bad, Mr. Baines. You should be prepared for this sort of thing. But just a quick review actually of the on the old fantasy. You mentioned Keenan Ahola. When he's on form, he's on form. He's top fantasy points with 86 this week. Ratimer, Stevenson coming in next, then Cody Taylor. Harry Potter also up there, and Proctor. And Asitia, the hooker for the Reds, rounds out that top 70. Anyone who got 70 or more points in there. Punavai, he was in the top 10 for this week. And as you say, a player who is being doing well there. And Harkin, just outside the top 10, he's the only player on there that doesn't have a profile photo, which tells you, yes, because he's playing rugby, he's just got the jersey up there, because they didn't think he would actually be playing much, and so hence that's why he is there. But let's look forward then to next week. On We start off with only one game on the Friday because, hey, who wants consistency of when games are? We have the Blues versus the Force at a 7 o'clock kickoff. Look, the Blues heavy favourites in this one at $1.13 to the Forces $5.25. The Blues, the shortest odds, the most favourite team of the weekend, having coming off, I think it's one win off their last. Oh no, it's 2 wins in the last 5 games. Sorry, but still, yes, against the Force. Look, the Force don't travel so well there, but boy, I don't think I'd have them at $5.
No, nor did I. Listen, I think this is a really good money for value bet. Simply because I think basically the Force. I think they actually struggled with the pace at what the Chiefs played at, like their particular pace, turnover ball, and with the Chiefs, they're not going to run into contact all day. They're going to move the ball wide. Where it seems as though if the press conference is anything to go by with Vern Cotter, not a hell of a lot's going to change. So they've already announced their game plan. If I were the Force, I'd be actually trying to move the ball away from contact and move the Blues pack around. Paul, I'm actually.
And this one, look, travel isn't going to be such a big issue because I'm pretty sure the Force are going to stay in New Zealand. If they played in Hamilton, then in Auckland, right? You stay in the same hotel pretty much. You don't even have to move hotels. So travel shouldn't be such a big issue for them in this one, assuming they're going to stay here. I think that is a. Are the Blues favourites? Yes. Okay, I expect the Blues to win. Don't get me wrong, but I do. But the Force are not at $5.25. And so hence the I was saying a good money value bet rather than necessarily a safe bet or a good bet.
And and that's the sort of game. That's the sort of game. It would not surprise me if it's an upset, and if it is an upset, that's pretty much the Blues season done and dusted, in my opinion, because I just think it's just too hard to drag yourself out of a hole. We saw that with the Crusaders last year. We all thought they were going to make that late run, and boy, there's a lot of similarities at the moment. I think there are probably people thinking, oh yeah, all they do, the Blues have got to make the 6. If they make the 6, they'll be the team that nobody wants to play. The problem is you got to make the 6 first, don't you, Paul?
Well, yeah, because they travel across to because after the Fourth they go over to Fiji, which who knows what you'll get there. Yes, the Drua aren't going so well and have lost a few games at home, but still playing in Fiji is not that easy. Then they have to play Moana Pacifica at home with Moana, going in as favourites, I would say, for that, before they have a bye, and then the final game is against the Waratahs at home. So look, they've got a relatively soft run in, but even so, I think it's a massive ask for them to get the points they need.
The Blues, what I'm not enjoying is the complete, in my opinion, lack of honesty. You're in a hole, fellas. It's as simple as that, and it's going to take a little bit more than just trying to critique the one and only game plan that you know. Simple as that.
Sorry, thank you for reminding for Simon. Yeah, the Force were in Tauranga, they weren't in Hamilton, but it's not very far to travel.
No.
Next up, so yes, also believe the Blues are favourites. I don't think, I do not put them as that strong favourites. Now up, really surprising one here. So the Drua versus the Reds. The Drua, $2.20. The Reds favourites in Fiji, $1.62. Now, I would not have seen that last year. This one is in Suva, which is the as far as the Drua go, it's generally they generally do better in Luatoa rather than Fiji, rather than Suva. But even so, boy, this one is a coin flip to me.
Yeah, 4v11. Crazy, eh? Mate, maybe they've made Reds favourite because this game's being played in Suva as opposed to Lautoka, Paul.
But also, the Drua have only won 2 games all year. They have been losing at home as well as away. So look, the home fortress isn't there this year, unfortunately for them. But perhaps it's perhaps where we haven't moved with the times. There's recency bias, and then there's the opposite, which is what we might be we're thinking. Maybe we're being too optimistic for the draw, but even so, I would have I'd have the draw as slight favourites, but I say coin flip for me in this one.
Yeah, I'm I'm going to go for the Reds. I think there's too many other factors affecting this Fijian and Drua team at the moment. There's a lot of talk that a few of the team have signed big contracts in Europe, and they've already got a foot on the plane, so to speak. And there's also a little bit of disharmony in the camp as well. So once again, I talk about digging yourself out of this hole. I think I see this as an opportunity for the Reds team to basically keep themselves in the hunt.
Yep. Next up, the Hurricanes host the Chiefs. The Hurricanes $2.60, the Chiefs $1.45. Yeah, look, this to me has Chiefs win written all over it. The fact that the Blues are more favourites than the Chiefs just does my head in. I just can't see it. But
yeah. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go for an upset. I think the Hurricanes may have just found their mojo. You think back to that fourth game at 17-all draw. Listen, despite doing some really dumb things, turning down kicks at goal and probably making a meal out of what should have been a win, I do believe they've actually shown a little bit of ticker, and I think they'll take a lot of confidence out of that last game. I reckon they'll get a decent. That's a 7:05 kickoff at Sky Stadium Saturday night. I reckon they'll get a decent crowd there, and I'm going to go Hurricanes.
If you can't get a decent crowd for that game, then give up. The Brumbies then host the Waratahs in that derby game. That should be a cracker. The Brumbies $1.30, the Waratahs $3.30. Wow. Again, I don't think I'd see the difference being that big. To me, yes, the Brumbies clearly are favourites, but I don't see that. But I think the Waratahs are in with a shout. That those odds don't suggest they do have, to my mind. But there you go.
Yeah, these two met a few rounds ago, didn't they, Paul? I think might have been round. I'm just having a look. Maybe round 6 they met, and it was the Waratahs who got the victory at home. I think the Brumbies will be dark about that happening, and I think they're probably still dark about what happened last weekend. If the look on Stephen Larkham's face was anything to go by, I'm expecting the Brumbies to hit back in this game. Like you, a little bit surprised. Yeah, 130 for the Brumbies, but I maybe expected the Waratahs to be at about 250, 270.
Yeah, that was 28-23 that game. So it was a tight one. So that's hence why I think why I would have the Brumbies as favourites at home, but I wouldn't have them as that strong favourites. Finally, the Highlanders versus Moana Pacifica. The Highlanders $1.57, Moana Pacifica at $2.30. Wow. Yes, it's down in Dunedin, but I have Moana as definitely in a good shout here personally. But every time I've done that and thought that, to be honest, that's when they've kind of come a cropper, like the Blues game. I thought they had a real crack against the Blues, so that wasn't going to happen. But Highlanders clearly a different proposition to the Blues, a different style of play. And Ratamiti Neatkins was the player I was going to talk about who has got the yellow card issue out of his game, because he used to pick up quite a lot of yellow cards and defensively was all over the place. But he's improved massively in the area since he's come back from his injury, and is playing well. This is the closest game. The Drua Reds game is the closest game according to the TAB. But this one, I'm going more on Pacific on this one.
Yep. Boy. Man, it's a tough one. Listen, the Highlanders will be playing for their lives. It's one of those games I wouldn't mind seeing the teams before we pick it. We don't have that luxury of knowing what the teams are until Wednesday. Listen, if Pellegrini's playing first 5, I'm actually going to go. I'm actually going to go with Moana. I think there's also a few points to be proven as well. You've got the likes of the number 8 Tupou Taialoa, who plays for Southland, who possibly should have been picked up by the by the Highlanders, if you know what I mean. So some of those guys might just have a little bit to prove.
And of course, Toto and
Well,
Arwai being an ex Moana player. So yeah,
Tavanawai being ex Moana player. Oh, this is exciting. And man, I thought it was a 3:35 kickoff on Sunday. How good, Paul? Make sure you're not working.
I don't think I might be again. I might be working that one, doing a goldmine tour. Look, a cracking round of games for there, as you can see, because I think they've got the odds. Some of the odds are wrong way round, which makes apart from really the Canes Chiefs and to a certain degree the Blues Force. I think those other three games could all go either way.
Oh,
So cracking round of games this coming weekends, folks. So do join us next Monday at 8 p.m. as we round up those games and head towards closer to finals time. Thank you, Mr. Harris, for joining me. It's been a pleasure as always.
Thank you.
And folks, stay safe.